for the first time in my life, my credentials kind of fell right exactly where they're supposed to be. And
This week on That Car Show, it's Vince Finaldi, the new president of the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. This is the 75th year of the Concours, and it's just 4 weeks away, so there couldn't be a better time to have him on. Vince shares his unique path to Pebble, talks about the cars that shaped him, what goes into pulling off an event like this, and where he sees the collector car world heading next. All roads lead to Pebble, and it's Vince Finaldi on That Car Show. Hey, it's That Car Show, and we are so glad you're here because today we've got Vince Finaldi on the show. And Vince, of course, is the new president as of this past January of the world's greatest celebration of the automobile, the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. And Vince is a trial attorney who in 2022 decided to retire from practicing law to open Finaldi Incorporated, a shop like those run by his father and grandfather that focuses on the restoration, service, and sales of the European collector cars we know and love. His personal collection has included Mercedes-Benz, Porsche, Ferrari, and Lamborghini. Needless to say, Vince is our kind of guy, and we're thrilled to have him join us today. Welcome to That Car Show, Vince.
thank you for having me.
Glad to
Thank you
have
for
you
being
here,
here.
and I think we're both very curious about your journey to being Pebble Beach Concours president. You've stepped into some very big shoes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. It's been a long car journey that I've been on that started when I was just a child.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what
it's
were you
nothing really,
always
you know.
were you always a car guy?
Yeah, I was born into a car family. So, my grandfather was in the automotive industry, and my father and my uncles were as well. They were entrepreneurs who owned shops
Hmm.
throughout the Chicago area and
Yeah,
Southern California. So I kind of grew up in shops and surrounded by automobiles.
yeah, yeah. Did you live in Chicago? I mean, I'm a Chicago guy, so I've got to
Yeah.
ask. Yeah, where
Yeah,
were
that's
you?
where I was born. My
Okay.
father and my uncles emigrated from Italy
Wow.
to Chicago in the
Okay.
late 60s.
Okay.
And so that's where I was born, Cook County Hospital in
Yeah.
South Side
Okay.
is where I lived until 1978.
Okay.
That's when we moved everything to Southern California.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Right
And were
on.
you
Yeah.
in the Carmel area at that time?
No, Southern California. That's where my father and my uncle's shops were.
Mm,
And so I lived there all the way up until about 4.5, 5 years ago. Five
okay.
years ago, my wife and I decided to relocate the whole family up to Carmel. We had been coming up here for Car Week for years and
Yeah.
years, and it was an easy decision if you've ever been up in the
Yeah.
Yeah.
area.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
We're
would
very
not have
much looking
to,
forward.
you wouldn't really have to twist my arm to get me to move to Carmel.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's a great part of the world. And so I'm just curious. So you grew up around cars, grew up around special cars. What was the first car that really caught your eye, or first car that you said, damn, this is really something special?
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So what were
but
they? Yeah.
so
I
you
knew
What
we
was
liked
around?
him.
Yeah.
yeah, my dad and my uncles, they not only ran collision repair
Mhm.
shops and mechanic shops, they also imported and exported cars
Oh, wow.
to supplement their income and also to have fun cars to play with. And
Yeah.
so they specialize in Italian sports cars. So at our house, while growing up, we always had Italian sports cars coming
Wow.
and going.
Yeah.
Alfa Romeo, Maserati, Ferrari, Lamborghini. And so those are the cars that I kind of grew up around, in addition to American muscle cars,
Ah,
primarily Corvettes,
okay.
and some German cars, some Porsches, some British cars.
Yeah.
But the ones that really resonated with me were the Italian sports cars
Yeah.
that were kind
Yeah.
of our bread and butter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so
What
cool.
were the British cars that you had?
Yeah.
Like that you were exposed to?
Yeah, Jaguar, MG, mainly those.
Mhm.
A lot of Jaguars.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you get dropped off at school and this stuff? And I mean, was this just a part of your identity growing
Ah,
up, these cars?
I don't think I ever dropped off because my dad would leave for work way before
Oh,
school
okay.
started, and
Sure.
and
Sure.
he'd come back home way after school was over with. But
Yeah.
he'd take us for rides on weekends for
That's
sure.
cool.
And so
That's
we
cool.
just lived in a normal suburban neighborhood in Southern California.
Yeah.
And one day we'd have a Ferrari in the garage. We'd have a Lamborghini Miura in the garage that he'd
Wow.
owned for a while,
Oh,
and so yeah, at the time, I just thought it was kinda normal. You buy
Yeah.
these cars and bring them in, and drive them for a while and then, sell them and then move on to the next one. But, I should have known something was a little odd when, we'd get in the car and, hit the garage door open or open up the garage door and, pretty soon there'd be a gang of kids outside
Oh,
looking in
yeah.
and sometimes their fathers
Right.
wondering what's going on. And,
Yeah.
I just thought everyone's house was like that, but apparently, they weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Turns out that is not the case.
Yeah, God,
Turns out it's not the case,
Yeah.
but,
we just had our buddy Ryan Sopka on. I don't know if you know Ryan at all, but he's a big Ferrari guy, and we talked a bit about how these cars not just can change your life, but really have the power to change the lives of others just out and about. I remember so vividly the first time I saw my first Lamborghini Countach, right?
mhm,
And I had my
mhm.
dad chase it in our Chrysler minivan, right? On
Yeah,
this 2 lane, and it just, he's got an F40, right? When he takes that out, I mean, that has the power to change the trajectory, I think, of a young person's life, right? Their
yeah.
interests, their hobbies for the rest of their lives. And so, man, I can't imagine having that rotating cast of cars through the house. I mean, it just must have been wonderful, you know?
Well, it was wonderful, but it was also, torture, if you will, because, I'd come home, I'm, 5, 6 years old, and
Yeah,
there'd be this wonderful sports car, and, I'd get inside of it and play with it and pretend like I'm
yeah,
driving it and
yeah.
just fall in love with the car, and then the next day I'd come home from school and the car's gone,
Oh,
and
Yeah.
I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, what's going on here?" This one was
Yeah.
mine,
yeah,
and,
yeah,
It was
yeah,
I'd
enough to make
cry
your
and
head
I'd be
spin.
upset, and yeah, and then, next week another one would show up and I'd forget all about it, and I'd fall in love with that one, and then,
yeah,
same thing would happen again, or, wash, rinse, repeat. So,
Right.
yeah,
now that I'm older, I'm not the type of person that buys a car and keeps it forever.
mm,
I like to buy cars and fix them and work on them and play with them and drive them and use them, and then, after I've had my time with them, I usually move them on and I'm on to the next one.
yeah, yeah,
Because, primarily that's what happened throughout my entire life.
Right.
I was, I just got used to that process from a young age.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
that was
people
the
forget
example
too
that
when
was set.
Mhm.
Yeah. When we were kids, these weren't, I don't want to call them, don't want to say that they're commodity cars now, right? But, there were a lot fewer Ferrari dealerships, right? When we were growing up, they were just that much more special. You just didn't see them like you do now, right? Like the
Yeah,
newer
well, there
cars.
there there were very few dealerships, and that's one of the reasons
Yeah.
why my father and my uncles, would supplement their income by
Yeah.
importing cars. It was
Yeah.
something that
Yeah.
was easy for them to do because they were
Sure.
from Italy. They knew, where to find the
Oh, yeah.
cars. They knew how to bring them in here, and,
Yeah.
there weren't a lot of dealers here, so
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
a good way to make money.
And it must have been Continental, right? Up in Hinsdale when you were a kid was the big dealer in the Chicago area.
I know
Um,
Joe Marchetti was a big dealer,
okay.
in
Okay.
Chicago,
Right.
and so, yeah, but I was, very young,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was born in
Yeah.
'74, so by the time
Okay.
we moved in '78,
Sure. Right.
I wasn't going to many dealerships and hanging out and
Right.
trying to buy cars there.
Right.
I
Right.
was
Right.
I was
Right.
probably trying to stay warm.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
So, this is the 75th year of the Concours. What do you think has kept Pebble, really the benchmark event, that it has been all these years and continues to be?
Well, one of them, it's the oldest concourse in the US.
Mhm.
It started in 1950, along with the road races in Pebble Beach,
Right.
and it's been an event ever since. So, number 1 is the longevity of the event. Number 2 is that it's always been able to innovate to stay ahead of the
Mhm.
Mhm.
crowd, which is very important to keeping your event fresh,
Mhm.
relevant, and something that people wanna go to. And number 3, it's always kind of remained a pinnacle event in terms of its standards. It's
Mhm.
always had very
Yeah.
rigorous and strict judging standards,
Mhm.
very strict standards about which cars are accepted and which ones are not. And Pebble has always known what it is.
Mhm.
It's not like, some shows that are, especially newer shows, which,
Yeah.
granted it's for a reason, but, they're
Right.
trying to figure out what they are. Are they going to be a
Right.
high end? They're going to be a low end? Or are they going to just accept everything? They need to monetize it. So they kind of, want to accept everything to get
Yeah.
going.
Right.
Um, but, we've been, running the show so long that we have the luxury of not having to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. We
That's
talk a
true.
lot with folks about authenticity and how that's just what everyone wants these days, right? And that, that's Pebble, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
the one, right? I mean, you can't fake the funk, as
Yeah.
I think as you're kind of getting at, and it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
yeah.
I've been around, repair,
Yeah.
collision repair, restoration, you name it, of cars since I was born. So I've been, in paint shops. I've seen cars just completely demolished and rebuilt. I've I've lived through all the stuff that was going on in the late 70s and
Yeah.
80s when they were
Yeah.
chopping, Ferrari Daytonas to make convertibles. And I
Yeah.
know the shop where that was going on. It was
Yeah.
down the street from one of my dad's shops.
Really.
And I've seen the progression of the collector, whatever you call it, the hobby, the business, um, the
Just sort of
and
the whole
and
realm.
I've seen how it's changed.
Yeah.
Before these were just kind of cars and kind of items you owned and used, and you know, there was one point in time where they were kind of throwaway,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah,
race cars in the
Yeah.
'60s.
Yeah.
right.
But now the way people look at them, the way they buy them, the way they use them, the way they invest them in them, is more akin to fine art. There's a
Mhm.
lot of
Mhm.
fine art principles that have been applied to the collector car market,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, that's something you really have to take into account if you're anywhere in the business or if you're buying cars. It's
Yeah.
just it's a different world now.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Can we talk about those generational shifts a little bit? I mean, you mentioned the Daytona, right?
Yeah.
And how look how that's shifted, over the last 20 years or whatever. What are you seeing? What are young? I hate the term young people, but
Yeah.
people younger than us, right? Like what are you seeing in their
Yeah. Well, I mean, to finish the point of the authenticity, I think
Mhm.
people are really recognizing and valuing authenticity,
Mhm.
Well,
partially because of the way these cars are being valued,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the idea that they're only original once.
Yep.
What I'm seeing is that shift towards more original, more complete cars with unbroken provenance that
Mm.
you can trace all the way
yeah,
from day
Yeah.
one. People are, they're a lot more informed buyers
Yeah.
and users of cars nowadays than they were 10, 15 years ago. We've got much better records. We've got the internet that we can use.
Mhm.
Um, so I've seen that as a change. And another change is something that's been happening since the beginning of the car, which is younger collectors come in and they want to buy and use the cars that were on their posters on their wall when they were
Yeah.
young and they couldn't afford them. So
right.
Yeah.
we're seeing that generational
Yeah.
shift now.
Yeah.
It's happening right in front of our eyes. It pretty much, we could say it started in January with the Mecum auction and
Mm. Yeah.
the huge auctions for some of these Halo supercars that happened at the beginning of this year. And the numbers keep repeating. They're continuing. So that's something that I think caught probably, you, Lindsay, and Ryan by off guard.
Yeah.
Caught me off guard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish I had a time machine. I can go back to
right.
October.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Maybe
but
pick
yeah,
up a couple
we're seeing
things.
that, and
Yeah.
yeah, but that's nothing new. I mean, it
Yeah.
happened
Right.
when people went from the brass tail to the cars, to the the pre-war and then the post-war, and it's always been happening. These generational shifts in the cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just
Um,
a matter of pinpointing, like you said, before it happens, so you can, advantage yourself if you want.
Yeah.
and which ones it's going to happen to? It doesn't
Right.
happen to all the cars.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
certain
No.
ones that are the anointed ones that rise.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
sometimes the ones that do that really kind of take you off guard. There's a couple that caught me off guard.
I was gonna say,
Mm.
which were the ones that were most surprising to you this year, like
Uh,
starting,
the Enzo, the Enzo is pretty surprising to
Yeah.
me. It's yeah, that's one that caught me off guard. The F50 I can understand a lot
Mhm.
more.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a manual.
Yeah.
It's 12 cylinder. It's naturally aspirated. F Formula One technology. I get that one. The
Yeah.
288 GTO. I get that one as well. The Enzo caught me off guard a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what about that were you like, "Oh, I didn't see that coming?"
Just that it's newer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's F1 trans car,
Right.
and it was kinda lingering for years and years and years, and all of a sudden, it's just a hot car.
It's here.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, also, I still think of that as like a new car or newer car, and it's not,
I
right?
me
know.
too,
It's
me
been
too.
around for a minute, yeah.
I remember seeing him in the showroom in,
Yeah.
2005 or whatever,
Wow, yeah.
Right.
and then also the Carrera GT kinda caught me off
Yeah.
guard a little bit as
Mm.
well. That
Yeah.
car, was lingering at a much lower number for years and years
Mhm.
Yeah.
and years, and, there were definite reasons for it.
Right.
I think the suspension upgrades and the upgraded
Yes.
tires
Yep.
Yeah.
really improved the drivability and the safety of that car, which helped quite a bit with the value.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I think and Vince, I think you were in California when this happened, but there was a very famous crash in California between a Ferrari and a Carrera GT at a track in Fontana, which is actually not there anymore. And I think at least for the
Yeah.
people, semi-locally, that definitely cast a pall over those cars too, unfortunately, like, fairly or
Yeah,
unfairly.
I grew up really close to that track, and I know where it was. I remember the crash, and,
Mhm.
Yep.
that's not the only one. There's several
No,
very,
yeah,
high profile,
yeah,
incidents with that car.
Yeah.
It's it can be a twitchy, car to
right,
drive. You really have to know what you're doing. It's a high performance, car, and that's
yeah.
kinda, uh, yeah.
Well, and I think like you said, all the upgrades that they did recently, I think there were a lot of people that maybe took a second look, which could help explain sort of the surprising value, but it
Yeah.
made a big difference.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think that car has something, it has an intangible, and that's it's got a legend that comes with it, right? And
Mhm.
maybe it's less deserved now with, as you alluded to, the tires and the suspension upgrades and all that. But I mean, that is you can't you can't put a price on that. And it's just there's something about that car. That car has gravity. It just has
Yeah.
has
Yeah,
Yeah,
gravity.
it's
So
it's it I guess what's interesting is, like, so you see the Carrera GT and then the 918. Carrera
mhm.
GT is the one that's really moving, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Which,
yeah.
the 918 is kind of the upgraded version, but it's not really
right.
getting the same kind of traction.
Yeah,
You see the
yeah,
same
yeah.
thing with the 4 GT,
Yep.
the 2005 one, and then the next one. The next one's, it was a much higher, price point, but it's not getting the same traction. So,
Yeah,
I guess that's kinda what caught me off guard a little bit with the Enzo is that, I
Mhm.
expected that kinda to be the same.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Um
that makes sense. I know, like you
Y
said, Ryan, I
you
think about those as new. I remember seeing one of those on
I
the
know.
street and describing it to people, and it was around 2005, and
Mhm.
them saying like, "You definitely that's not what you saw." And I'm like, "No, these were the features of this car." And they're like, "Well, that's what that was." And it feels like it was
Yeah.
a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally, totally, totally. You mentioned too, that young people drive the cars more, and that's something that I've seen. I think rallies like the Colorado Grand and the Cal Mille and all these other.
Mm,
I mean, they're more popular than ever. We're seeing a lot of younger people, and they're driving cars that maybe wouldn't have been driven. Right?
Yeah.
Are you seeing the
Yeah.
same thing?
Yeah, I'm kinda seeing that.
Yeah.
Yes and no. I mean, I'm noticing more of a shift from the formal Concord, the formal
mm,
button-up
Hmm.
concourse
Hmm.
towards people wanting to have a little bit more fun and being a little more loose and relaxed
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and have, like, a lifestyle event. We're noticing that with our event, and our event has
yeah,
slowly, been getting more relaxed and
Yep.
more, informal and kinda leaning into the lifestyle thing. So
Yeah.
I see more of that happening, the younger generation wanting to use their cars and, uh, finding events or cars that they can, actually use. But another disturbing, thing that I see is a lot of cars just getting stockpiled and
Mm.
and everyone looking at mileage
yeah,
and that and I've experienced it myself with a
Yeah.
a a few cars I've bought that, newer supercars that are low mileage cars and I never knew what mileage anxiety was until I owned one,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
and you drive it around and you just see the odometer and it's just in
Yeah.
the
right,
back of your head. It's a weird thing. I think it's unfortunate because these cars were meant to be driven and to be used,
yeah,
and I actually am a big proponent of using cars because I know that, a car, a 20-year-old car with 5 miles versus a 20-year-old car, say 2,000, 2,500 miles,
Mhm.
I'd take the 2,500-mile car any day of the week because I
same,
know that it's probably not gonna have many issues,
right,
but it's not pristine, it's not right off the showroom
Sure.
floor, but that's fine for me. A
Yeah.
lot of collectors are not like that though
Yeah.
nowadays. They they
Yeah.
they want the 5-mile car, they want the
Yeah.
pristine car in the wrapper, and those cars come with a lot of, potential pitfalls, you
Yep.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Well, it's
such
just
a
it's a
such a
totally
shame.
different experience, I think, and you hit the nail on the head, like, and that's what we talk about here too. I mean, you're definitely, among friends is we always say
Mhm.
we love to see people that drive their cars. We love to see the cars being driven. For me, especially, when you see a car that's really special and it's been put away and you know it's not going to be driven, it's sort of, it pains me for sure. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's like that's one of our great joys is getting out and driving the cars. So, we like to
Yeah.
Yeah.
agree,
Well,
like,
and
we
it's
all
better
agree
for
on
the
that.
car.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly,
It's
like,
better
they
for
were
the car.
designed to do one thing, so we
Yeah,
like to see
heating
when
up the
people
car, letting all the different components heat
Yeah,
up and, burn off that condensation. It gets on all the parts. It gets in
yep,
the
Right,
electronics, it gets in the
yep,
engine, it gets in the exhaust, and so, going through the heat cycles using the cars is a
yep,
good thing, you know?
right.
Yeah, getting everything, in the internals oiled up and, I'm a big proponent of using your cars, but I'm also a huge fan of preservation cars, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah,
I kinda grew up in the business where we're fixing cars and, repairing them and making them better, and, it's kinda one of the weird, anomalies of the world that, if you talk to all the big restorers out there
yeah,
and you ask them what cars they want, they all love preservation cars, you
yeah,
know? They all
yeah,
love cars that have kind of been cared for through their entire life, even if they're not perfect,
Yeah,
because they're only original ones.
yeah, yeah. I do have a question about those. It seems like every year, whether it's on the Grand or auctions or wherever it is, where do these barn find cars keep coming from? Like, I would have thought,
Not my barn.
yeah.
not
Tell you
We're
that
mine
gonna
either.
run out of
much.
barns at a certain point.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's just I'm always amazed that it's just there seems to be this continuous stream of these cars, which is wonderful, but
Yeah,
it's
that's a phenomenon that started way back in, like, the '80s.
yeah.
I think Tom Shaughnessy was with the first
Mm,
barn find guy that said, "Let me just
right.
pull it out," and, he was pulling cars out for years,
Yeah,
and I think he's one of the first people that just put it in the auction just
yeah,
as is, and they thought he was nuts, but,
yeah.
it worked out really well, so, I don't know where they're finding all these cars, but they always seem to keep popping up, and it never makes sense to me why someone would squirrel away a wonderful car with, 50 miles on it and not use it.
I know.
That's
I
it, and
Yeah.
apparently it's still happening. I live in a neighborhood here in Denver where there is a legend of a Carrera GT that's in someone's, garage off the alley that's got boxes stacked on it, so whenever I'm out on my bike or walking the dog, I make a point of going down the alley because I guess people get into these situations, spouse passes away or something,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
them, it's a Boxster, right? They might not know any better, and so I guess they're still making barn finds, at least a few of them, and,
I mean, now you're making me feel old because I can't believe that a Carrera Giki can qualify to be
I
a
know,
barn
right?
find. I mean,
well, I
has
haven't
Speaking
it
seen
of
it yet,
has it
so it
been
could just
around
be
long
legend.
enough to get
I
dusty?
know, it's
Yeah.
it's 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 crazy.
Yeah,
You talked
speaking of
about,
the Enzo just being
cars.
new.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The Carrera GT is another one. Lindsay and I, we've talked about this with a couple of recent guests where they have come up so much in such a short period of time that we know owners that have really thought twice about continuing to drive them as they have been, which is a shame. Another friend with a GT3 4 liter, right? An RS
Mhm.
4 liter, a 997. It's just there's a point where unless you're really, really wealthy, it becomes a lot of money, and
Yeah.
and then it stops being fun, and it's kind of a shame, but
Yeah, it's not just that, it's also, I mean, there's more stress, involved when you're driving
yeah,
a car that's really, really high
yeah,
value.
yeah,
Number one, because the value itself, and you can't just, completely disconnect yourself from it.
right,
But
Right.
also, as the value of these cars go up, um, people know about it, and
yeah,
so you get more attention when you're out.
right,
Yeah.
It's much less likely than you could just leave the car in a parking lot
right,
somewhere and go grab a cup of coffee
right, right.
because people wanna go and see it and touch it and lean on it and, do a
Yeah.
bunch of the things that, car people know you shouldn't be doing.
That's
Right.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
So
definitely
so
changes your experience of the car. And like, so one thing I'm curious about, and you said you ran into this when you had cars that were lower mileage. Did you ultimately decide that that wasn't for you and get something else? Did you just decide you were going to drive them? Like
Yep.
how did that work out for you?
Yeah. Yeah, I just didn't, I didn't I had one car, it was a So Lamborghini Murcielago
Mm,
LP640,
mm.
Oh,
and it was a manual trans car. They only made 20 of them. So the last of the manual trans cars,
oh, wow.
Ithaca green,
Wow.
green Cucintura's interior,
Wow.
and 8,000 miles. So this
Wow.
was this was Ed Bullion's old
Oh,
car,
sure, yeah.
Oh, that's
and,
awesome.
just a great car. I bought it and I was using it, and then, once you go from 8 to 10,000 miles and over 10, a big thing big change happens with the
Yeah.
price and the collectability for some of these
Yeah,
people,
Yeah.
there's
right?
a bit of a
But
hit.
you're at 8,000 miles, you're in a sweet spot,
Mm,
and I kinda found myself not using the car as much, and it was kinda sitting there, and
yeah.
and that's not why I like to own and buy cars. I don't like to just, have it there and look at it. I want one that
Yeah,
I can use. And so I got an offer, and it was a lot more than I paid for it, and it was like a year I had owned it, and, I figured, "Look, I get to drive the car for a year for free, and I get a lot more money, so I'm making a
It's
deal." So I sold it, and, now the car is worth probably six times
right.
what I sold it for, and
Yeah.
this is only 5 years ago, 6
Wow.
years ago. Yeah, it's
Wow.
not that
Yeah,
long, so,
Yeah.
it's one of the ones that got away. It's,
Sure.
but to do it all over again, I would because
yeah,
I enjoy using my
Yep.
cars, and, I took the money and I rolled it into another one, and I had fun with it, and, so on and so forth. So
Yeah.
it's kinda my mantra. You use the cars,
Yeah.
have fun with
Yeah.
them.
yeah,
Better to have lived and lost than never to have loved at all, is that loved and
right?
lost than never to have loved at
Yeah,
all, right?
I
So
mean, for me, if you're gonna I guess I'm getting too philosophical here, but,
oh,
Nope,
if
we're
you're
into
not
it.
gonna use the car if you're not gonna use the car, if it's just gonna be in your garage and,
yeah.
it's gonna be for viewing purposes only, then why not just, have one on a piece of paper,
Right, right, right,
or on a computer screen. It's not that much different, you
right,
know?
Right.
right,
Yeah,
right.
because you're looking at it as, and like Jay Leno talks about this it's kind of a combination of what we've talked about where he said they're works of art that can drive if you want them to. And like I think
Yeah,
one of the things we love about Jay is that he actually does drive them. But you're right. Like if you're buying it and
and
parking it, it's really a sculpture at that point.
well, and also some of the most, wonderful things about a car is when you use them and you
Yeah.
see how they work and you see how they manage different environments and different weather. That's kind of, for me, the beauty of owning these cars. I love to, when I was young, I used to love to kind of pack a lunch and I'd put it in my bike
Mm,
and I'd go, my buddies and I would go, riding in the mountains somewhere, and then we'd have our lunches and then we'd come back. And then we got older and we do the same thing with our go-karts. And then we got older, we do the same thing with our cars.
yeah,
Yeah.
And you look at all the people at these car shows now, especially the older men, they're doing the same thing. They pack
yeah,
their little
yeah,
lunches and they go for the drives, and,
Yeah.
I do the same thing with my wife. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we're just nothing more than, older kids,
no, that's it.
Exactly.
but that's that's
The
that's
toys
that's
have a
the
few
joy
more
of own
wheels. Yeah.
and they're a little more expensive,
Yeah,
but,
A
yeah, yeah,
little.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
yeah,
kind of the joy that's the joy of owning these cars, and,
yeah,
I think that once we stop using the cars, um, that's when this whole, the hobby that we enjoy kinda goes away.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
It's so funny you mentioned that, when you're a kid, you think you're gonna reach some day in your life where you're, "Oh, yeah, I'm a grown-up now," and that never happens, right? You're just sort of a continuation of who you were when you were a
Yeah.
kid, the cars and stuff, you just, to your
I
point, have more
I stopped
expensive things.
maturing when I was about 4 years
Yeah.
old, I'm
Yeah.
just
You're good you're in
You're
good
like, "I
a
have
little
company.
bit older, a lot
peaked."
less hair,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
we
no, I'm
all
with you.
instead we have those moments where you go, "Wait, who put me in charge? I'm the only adult here?" Like,
That's
Mhm.
yes,
adult.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
No, it's
it's
great. Well,
crazy,
and
it's
that's
crazy.
I I've had a lot of press cars lately, and so we've been making a point to do like a day trip with each one just to really experience it. And I think you described it really well. It's the cars become part of an adventure or it's an excuse for an adventure. And like
Mhm.
you're tapping into some of the joy that we experienced as kids,
Yeah.
which we don't have as many opportunities as adults, but that's the cars are sort of an opportunity to find that again, which is pretty wonderful.
Yeah, I've got a friend, when I moved up here to Carmel, we've got there's these car condos
Mm,
complexes.
Oh, yeah.
So I bought a car condo, and he had the one right across from me. We met right away, became friends. He was into, Alfa Romeos and things like that.
mm.
And I had a couple Porsches, and, I always have a few Porsches, and I had a couple in my garage. And he's like, "Well, you got all these Porsches," and, I'm like, "Well, have you ever driven one?" no, but these Porsche guys are all the same, and they're all into them, and they're all, and which he's not wrong. He's not
Yeah.
Yeah.
wrong, and so
You
I
might have a
said,
point.
you should, so I let him drive mine a little bit. He's like, hey, these are kind of cool, maybe I'll get one, and so finally, a couple of years in, to the friendship, he bought a Porsche, right,
Yeah.
and I told him, I said, watch out, because if you buy one, I guarantee you, the Vince is gonna say you're gonna buy another,
Yeah.
you're gonna buy another. You're not just gonna buy
Yeah.
one. He's like, "Oh, you're
Yeah.
crazy. I barely even would buy one and this and that." And, so now he's got 2 and he's working on his 3rd. And
Amazing.
but getting back to the point, the reason why is because they just work so well. Those cars are so well engineered. They do
Yeah.
everything well, but you don't know it until you spend time with them and drive them.
Right.
Before he was like, "Oh, this Porsche guys, what the heck is your thing?" And, then he got to drink a little bit of the Kool-Aid and,
Yeah.
now he's got a Kool-Aid dispenser at his house.
Right.
Yeah.
On
So,
second thought, I'd like to revise
Yeah.
my answer.
It's
Yeah.
yeah,
it's a sweet, sweet nectar, Vince, as you know.
It is.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
yeah. Getting pricier
Irresistible
every
to,
day, but
everybody here.
yeah.
yeah,
But they're pricey for a reason, I
that's right.
mean,
Right.
I've always done well with Porsches. I know exactly what I can buy it for. I know exactly what I can sell it
Yep.
for. I know how long it'll take to sell the car if I want to sell it. And what I say is that, especially if you're into Italian sports cars,
Yeah.
you're in for a little bit of hand wringing and headaches. It's just the nature of them,
Yep.
especially if
Yeah.
they're older cars, because they're finicky. Um, they're beautiful, wonderful cars, but
Yeah.
they're also a little bit of a pain in the neck sometimes. And so most people I know who have them, they always have a Porsche tucked in the back of the garage
That's it.
somewhere, just in case.
That's right.
Because
Right.
that's the car that's it's just like it's like the golden retriever. No matter what time of the day it is, no matter what the weather is, it's always ready to go and go for a walk. It does
Happy to
not
see
matter.
you.
It's always
Yeah.
happy to go.
I
Starts right away, and yeah. So
I
everyone
love
needs a
that.
golden
It's
retriever in their
the,
garage.
what do you
I
call it? The
love that.
security blanket? Porsche?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No one's ever compared Porsche to a golden retriever, and it's funny because
I
I
love
own a
it.
golden retriever mix too. So I guess I'm not much of a risk taker.
Yeah.
So let's nerd out on Porsche for a minute, if we could. What are you into? Like, what do you take out on the weekends? What's your go-to?
I started with 356s.
Yeah.
I think they're just a classic car. I think they're wonderful for what they are. I'm a big proponent of it's more fun to go fast in a slow car than slow in a fast car.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that the first Porsches I owned were 356s. I really
Mm.
love the 56A coupe,
Okay.
because I love the beehive lights, and it's
Yeah.
kind of the most upgraded one you can have with still
Yeah.
having the beehives. Speedsters, I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
I've owned a few
Yeah.
of them.
Love speedsters.
And then getting into newer ones. So for 911s, I'm a huge fan of the 74 to 76 Euro Carreras
Okay.
with the MFI engine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've owned about 10 of
Oh,
those.
wow.
I just
So what
love
do you
them.
love
It's
about those?
basically, it's a 73 RS. It's the same car.
Yeah. That's right.
Right.
It's got the exact same engine. It's got the exact same trans, the exact same suspension. It's got the upgraded G body, which is a little stiffer. And the interior is a little bit more plush, no chrome
Mm.
bumpers, exact same weight, and it's about half the price. And
that-
it's basically a race car ready to go right out of the
Yeah.
box. They come
Yeah.
in awesome colors, all the
Yep.
colors of the rainbow.
So good. Yeah.
And so you could do everything. We
Yeah.
go up to Napa with them.
Yeah.
We drive in the rain. They're just wonderful cars. They do everything well. So those are cars I really like.
That is the answer of someone who knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Solid
Those are great
choice.
cars. Yeah. Yeah. Should we bring this back to the Concours? Because
What's that?
Yeah.
What are
Just kidding.
Well, so
Oh, the
you
concourse.
mentioned
Yeah.
Oh, work.
oh,
We're
it's a
talking about
little
work. Okay.
it's a little
Sure.
event in August. You'd love it. You should check it out when you have time.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you
That's
mentioned
that's just in a few days. I
right?
can't be here. I need to go get to work. What am I
I
doing
know.
here with you guys, huh?
How does
Right.
it sneak up like it does every year? I can't imagine how it sneaks up for you, but
Yeah.
it's even for the rest of us. It just seems
It
like
does.
like
It
before we
does.
know
And the funny thing about Car Week is that every single year, my friends and I, we look forward to it and we're excited about
Yeah.
it. And, we've been doing it for years. But then once like Thursday rolls around and you're
Yeah.
in Car Week on
Yeah.
Thursday,
Yeah.
we start saying, uh-oh,
Yeah.
Monday's coming.
I
The
know.
depressing Monday. There you're like, oh God, you're a little hungover and like,
Yeah.
oh God, you just got that post car week depression. And
Yes.
but with the new position here, I was telling him, I said, maybe I won't have that. Maybe I'm really going to be happy on
Yeah.
Monday that it's all over and I can relax a little bit. We'll see. Well,
Yeah, it'll be a different
Well, it
TBD.
experience
is.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is the most wonderful time of the year, so it's
Yeah,
hard to come down from that, you know. So what are
Yeah.
I
we
know.
what are we excited for this year? What are we going to see? You said you mentioned Mura, and I know that
Yeah.
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 Mura
Yeah.
is
So it's the 75th anniversary. So we have a lot of big, great classes. We've got the Pebble Beach race car class, which is cars that actually raced in the races
oh cool.
in the 50s when they still raced at Pebble Beach. We've
That's
got the
gonna be amazing.
Vignali classes, both non-Ferrari and Ferrari. We've got pre-war streamliners, which is
Cool.
an awesome, amazing class. I mean,
Uh,
that class has some really, really good cars. If you can go to the show and just see the streamliners,
yeah.
Yeah.
then you'll have seen something more tremendous than in, 50 shows you can go to.
Oh
So
wow,
can
I can't
you, for
wait.
And
people
then
that
uh,
aren't familiar with that class, can you tell, like, quickly a little bit of what would be in that class? Like, what type of
the
cars?
characteristics?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, some of the, the French cars that were built,
Mm.
pre-war, 30s that are kind of what like a shooting brake style, if you will.
Yeah.
The long swooping form with the, and they're you're just gonna have to see it when you get here.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and, uh and then also, so for the first time this year, we're actually, if you've been to Pebble before, usually the first fairway is the Ferrari fairway.
Mhm.
Right.
And Ferrari's got their big display there, their activation with all kinds of cars, and it's a great event. Well, for this year, for the first time, we've actually given the third fairway out. So the entire third fairway is going to be filled with Lamborghinis this year
Oh cool.
to
That's
commemorate the
amazing.
60th anniversary of the Mura. So we've got a bunch of cars already signed up. We're going to try and get to the 60 count. Not sure if it's going to get there, but it's
Wow.
going to be well above the prior world record, which was 27 Muras. That was at an event back, I think, in 2016.
Okay.
That's
So
gonna be
yeah,
Wow, it'll be
fantastic.
surreal. It'll be surreal.
lot of great stuff this year.
Yeah, yeah. Are you pinching yourself? I mean, someone who grew up, the Pebble, Pebble was always on this pedestal, right?
Yeah.
Trip over my words there, but I mean, and now here you are in
You're
charge of
the
the thing.
guy.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I never really imagined myself being here. And it's not something I chased. And, initially it's something I really didn't want. 'Cause I transitioned out of law
Yeah,
practice and,
yeah.
I opened a shop and we were restoring cars, specializing in Italian sports cars. And I was having a great time doing it. And I just happened to meet some people with the Pebble Beach Company, some
Mm,
executives, and some people with the concourse, and they kept coming around the shop saying, "Look, we're
mm,
looking for someone, to kind of carry on the tradition and to take over." And we think that you know it's hard to find someone. The event is so big, and
mm.
you
Yeah.
got the sponsors, you got the manufacturers, you got the car show, you got the judging, you got the technical aspects of the show. That you know you really need someone who's a business person and also a car person,
Right,
So
Right.
right.
it's easy to find a business person that knows a lot about business and
Mm,
how to run one, but doesn't know anything about cars. It's easy to find a car person that knows a lot about cars and, certain areas of the industry, but doesn't know much about running a business. And it's
yeah,
hard to find someone with a crossover. And that's what they
Yeah.
really wanted. So
yeah,
for some
yeah.
reason, by some crazy happenstance, I happened to, for the first time in my life, my credentials kind of fell right exactly where they're supposed to be. And I
You're
said,
like,
well,
"Would you look
I'm
at
just
that?"
not, I'm not I said, "Look, I'm not just a concourse person. I like to go to the concourse.
Yeah,
I like to see the cars, but I really like to use them. I like to drive them.
yeah.
I like to restore them. I can do paint work. I can do metal work. I can do mechanic work, um, and that's what I enjoy doing." And they said, "Look, we want someone who's really familiar with all aspects of the
Mhm.
industry and the people in the industry." Yeah, so I eventually my wife said, what are you stupid? Go take the meeting, go talk to them. You go to these
Yeah,
Yeah.
events anyways, you know a lot of the people.
yeah,
Why are you so reluctant?" And I said, "Well,
Right.
when you put it that way, it makes me feel like an idiot." But, yeah,
She sounds
smartest
like a
move is,
wise woman.
Yeah.
marrying someone smarter than I am, you know,
Well, it's
and so I took the meeting and turned out that, you know, our thoughts on the event and where it's going and the
yeah,
future of the event and the car, you know, the hobby, they aligned. And we
yeah,
had a
yeah.
lot of the same ideas. And, you know, what really got me was when I learned how much the concourse does for charity.
Right.
It's our
Yeah.
biggest charitable, fundraising arm for the Pebble Beach Company and Pebble Beach Company Foundation, and we raise, you know, millions of dollars every year, that goes to the core funding is for children and
Mhm.
education, for kids all throughout Monterey County, which is a huge county.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I transitioned out of law practice, I wanted to kinda lean into something where I'm giving back. You know, I've been
Mhm.
fortunate in my life and career,
Yeah,
many for many different reasons, and I really wanted to give back, and when I learned that I can have fun with cars, I can still run a business, and, I could be giving back to the car community and to those less fortunate, it was just a win-win-win,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
yeah,
Why wouldn't I do it? So, those are the reasons why I'm pinching myself,
yeah, yeah.
um, but, you know, as with any job, I mean, there's headwinds that we have to deal with,
Sure.
there's, things that give you headaches, so,
Yeah.
anyone that says it's a dream job and it's just the most wonderful thing in the world, they just haven't really looked deep enough into it,
Sure.
and see that the reality of the position because it's not all fun and games, but,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it is something that I do I like a challenge.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
working, and so it's
yeah.
something I do enjoy.
You seem like the perfect candidate, and I guess my question for you would be, say, 25 years from now, right? 100th running of the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. How would you like people to look back at your time at the helm? What do you want them to say?
I think I'd like them to say, you know, whatever they feel. But, you know, hopefully that
Just be honest, right?
Yeah,
I was a good team player
yeah,
and team builder,
yeah,
and that I was really able to put together a strong team that was able to, you know, carry this thing called Pebble into the new generation
yeah,
to
yeah,
attract young collectors and to grow the hobby, and also respected the lineage, and the history of the event, and also all of the wonderful cars that are part of the event, and didn't neglect any area of the industry or any area of collectors. You know, a lot of
right.
collectors
Yeah.
were wondering, well, what are you going to change? And you know, that's the first question I get asked by
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah,
You know, because
Right.
everyone has their own interests. You
sure.
know, and they don't want what they know and love to change. And so my first answer is, you know, not much.
Yeah,
It's a great event. It's a pinnacle event. Anyone that gets in there and says they want to make these huge sweeping
yeah,
changes is not the right person.
right.
But that being said, it is a living, breathing event. It needs to change, and it has been changing for decades in order to stay relevant and fresh and new
Mhm.
and to remain something people want to go to year after year and not just see the same thing over and over again.
Yeah,
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 that's true.
yeah.
What has been the most, like, unexpected or surprising part for you, given, like, you've attended it, you know, you have a lot of history with the event, but now you're on the other side of it. What's been the most surprising or unexpected thing about putting it together for you?
Let me see. Most surprising is really, I mean, I guess the amount of passion that everyone really has for the event. You
That's
know,
awesome.
I think what kinda sets Pebble apart from a lot of other events is that you've got some really diehard, Pebble Beach Concours fans all throughout the world, you know, whereas
Yeah.
before I thought that, there's people who kind of, you know, think that maybe it's a little bit too, high society, if you will,
Mm,
or, and it's not really the case at all. It's a very, very inclusive event and the one that have people have a lot of passion for and people wanna help. I mean, I've gotten calls from people all over the collector car, community, whether it's, you know, brokers and dealers and, you people who run museums and
mhm,
Yeah.
manufacturers and people in the special equipment
mhm.
territory. They all love the event and they all
Yeah,
wanna help it to to elevate it
Yeah.
and to help it to continue. So that's something that really surprised me. I thought it was gonna be more of a niche thing
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
just for, like, the hardcore Concours people, and then, the rest is just like, "Oh, well, it's just another event," but
Yeah.
Right.
it's really not turned out to be that case, which
Yeah.
is
That's a
great. It was
that's
a
a pretty
wonderful
fantastic
surprise.
surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Lindsay, you grew up going. I didn't get around till a couple of years ago, and I think
Yeah.
one of the reasons was, yeah, I thought maybe it was a little too highbrow for me. First year I went, I was very worried about what sport coat I was going to wear.
Yeah,
And then I get there, and
that's
I'm
the
like, oh, I run
impression.
into friends. Like it was easy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that's the
yeah,
impression, but you get there, yeah, there's that element where, a lot of
sure,
people dress up but I
Right.
think that's one of the beauties of the event, it's good to get dressed up at least
yeah,
It
once a
yeah,
year
is.
and,
yeah,
kinda walk around and have a, glass of champagne and go
yeah,
talk about cars, but the
Right.
best part of the show is that you see all your car people friends there,
yeah,
and if you've been
yeah,
around the car community for a long time, everyone comes from all around the world, and you see
Yeah.
everyone there, so it's just,
yep,
it's a great it's like I say it's like our Christmas, if you will.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was gonna
The
say that or like
Christmas is not just
homecoming
about the
or
pre
right.
well, it's not just about the presents, it's about, spending time with your family and friends.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
No,
and
you're
the people, not just friends, not just the people you know, but the people you've only ever seen in magazines, right, or on
Yeah,
television, and people are generally pretty accessible too if you go about it the
yeah.
right way, right? It's a very easy, welcoming environment,
yeah.
and I'm so glad you touched on that because I don't think enough people know that, and it's
Mhm.
yeah,
I know. I
it's
mean,
a
I think
safe space for
that's
lack of a better term,
Yeah.
well,
right?
it's
So
like if you try to put the actual experience of being there for the event, being at the
yeah,
event, if you try to put that into words, there's something intangible about it that is so wonderful. You
mhm,
only feel that at the Pebble Beach Concours, and I think
yep,
that's part of why we're like you said, Monday morning, you're just like, "Well, wait, that's it? We gotta wait a whole 'nother year?"
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, is that something that you talk about, like, how do we create this feeling and preserve that for the attendees? Because it's magical.
Mm, yeah,
It's just part of the magic of Pebble, and,
Yeah,
living here, I get to experience that, a lot more than some people do, and
yeah,
I don't take it for granted. It's a wonderful piece of geography.
it really there is
The
something
18th
very
green there
yeah,
and
yep,
the lodge, it's a magical place.
yeah, yeah,
So, you combine with, you can put your favorite cars in the world there and walk there and see the water and smell it and it's just, it's really a lot of people's happy place.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
definitely one of
that's a
mine.
huge it's a huge differentiator from a lot of other events. You can have the same cars potentially, but, you can't have the same location.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's just magical. Talk about gravity. That said, if it is your first year this year, what do you recommend for a first timer? What should they know? Where do they start? What's your advice to a first timer?
First timer, I would say, get a catalog, like
Mhm.
Sports Car Market has a really good catalog they put out that shows all the different events going on. There's so many events that you can't attend everything. A
Yep.
lot of the events overlap with one another,
Yeah.
Right.
and you just gotta look through it, and you gotta plan out your time because a lot of people come into town, I think 100,000 people for the week, and so traffic becomes an issue,
Yeah.
Yep.
and getting from one event to another becomes an issue, and if you try to do too much,
Yeah.
you end up spending your time in traffic, and so you'll rush through the one event, right, which
Yep.
is not fun,
Right.
and then you'll be in traffic, which is not fun, and then you'll rush through the next event, which is not fun, so you should really be selective
Yeah.
and only go to a few events and leave yourself enough time to get from one to another, so you can
Yeah.
spend your time there and really enjoy yourself, and another thing is just put down the phone. I
Mm.
tell everyone, "Put down the phone." There's gonna be so many photos of these cars and the location and everything all over social media and the internet. You don't
Yep.
need to take photos of the GTO that, everyone's photographing.
Right.
Obviously take some photos with your friends and your family or whatever, but put the phone away because that's when you can actually soak it all in and you can talk with some of the people that are there,
Yep.
Yeah.
these captains of industry, these, you know, race car drivers and all kinds of people in the car industry. And most of them are there to have fun as well.
Yeah.
And they're friendly and they'll talk to you. And that's kind of one of the beauties of Car Week that you don't get other places, you know?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. No, that's great advice, right? I mean, and all those other pictures are gonna be better than yours anyways.
Yeah,
That's one thing I learned right
I
away,
know.
yeah,
right?
Well, and
Yeah.
that's a good point of if you pay attention, because a couple years ago, I was coming out of a luncheon at the lodge, and Jackie Ickes was coming down the sidewalk, and I went, "No time like the present," so I said hi to him,
yeah,
and he
yep,
was like he was so lovely, took the time to say hi to us. I was with my friend Alana Share, and we both got to say hi to him and take a picture, and he walked away, and we went, like, "Only during Car Week." Like, this is
yeah.
it's just amazing.
Well, and another thing is, like, if you're because people are on their phones a lot. I'm seeing it more and more, especially at big sporting events and
Yeah.
things, and, if you don't have your phone out and you're just looking around and you get to be the one that experiences a lot more than they do because, you get to see
You're
everything.
there.
You
Yeah.
you really get to you really get to take in the event, and, it's kind of like a hack. It's a cheat
Yeah.
code for the event, you
Vince's
know?
life
It's
hack.
Yeah.
Put your phone down.
it
Yeah, yeah,
really
yeah,
is,
yeah,
you
yeah,
put the
yeah.
phone away, it's a little weird for a little bit, but then you kinda get to, loosen up, and, it makes it a much more pleasant experience.
Absolutely,
It's very
absolutely.
analog. It's like going back to, all of our childhoods.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's such a special event, such a special day. Our friend Johnny Lieberman was on too, and he had some very similar advice. He said, pick one thing each day
Mhm.
and then just go have dinner with good friends, and
Yep.
you're going to have the best time. So that and put your phone away.
Yeah.
I think that's the roadmap for success during Car Week for sure. But
Yeah, what did he say?
um,
Decide that your philosophy is, JOMO, the joy of missing out, and then be
enjoy
determined
this.
to miss out on
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah, that's right. Because it's gonna happen. You're just
Yeah,
in I feel like each year it's just more, right? Each
Yeah.
year it's just more. But if you're gonna do one thing, and you can swing it, make sure that it's Pebble because it is the one. It is the one.
yeah,
So
Well,
yeah,
it's the one event that, the other events kind of all shut down and everyone comes here,
yep, yep,
and it's an event where you see things on Sunday that you don't see beforehand, you know? You can go to the tour and watch
right.
some of the cars go and drive.
yes,
You can go to Concourse Village and see some of the stuff, but if you really, really wanna see the event and the show and what the magic is all about, you gotta come on
yeah,
Sunday. It
yeah,
just is
absolutely,
what it is.
absolutely. I'd like to bring it home just for a second because I'm very lucky to be a part of the Colorado Grand,
Mm.
and it's another opportunity to see a lot of these cars, these sports and racing cars, at least that you see, on the lawn in motion. Have you ever thought about doing the Grand? I know that a couple of your predecessors have done it over the years.
Yeah, yeah, I have. So I did the California Melee this
Oh,
year.
Oh,
Had a
excellent! It's a
great
great event.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very good event. And so I'm planning to do probably one driving tour every year. Next year, I'm looking at doing either the Colorado Grand or the Mille Miglia.
Okay.
I
oh,
know
nice.
it's the 100th anniversary of the Mille Miglia, which is a huge deal. So I think, the cars are probably going to tip in favor of the Mille Miglia.
Sure, sure.
Yeah,
What's that in
But
Italian, by the way? The 100th year of the Mille Miglia. What
the
is
Mille
that? Is
Mille
that
Amelia.
uh, yeah, it's Mille, cent'anni,
Oh, okay, okay, all right.
cento anni, yeah,
Yeah,
100 years.
yeah,
But,
that I
so
wouldn't blame you if you chose
that's
that,
gonna be a
yeah.
huge event, and I've
Yeah,
got a
yeah.
car that actually raced in the Mille Miglia in
Really?
1954 that I'd like to bring over, so,
What
yeah,
is
that would
that,
be
Vince?
it's a '54 Ferrari Mondial,
Oh,
500
wow,
Mondial. Yeah, it
wow,
raced the
wow,
race there, and,
wow.
I think it's done the Mille Miglia, like, 16 times,
Oh,
15
amazing.
times, yeah.
It could pretty
So
Yeah,
much do it without you. It's like, if you wanna sit and have lunch, I can
yeah,
go on
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's
Well,
traveled a lot more than a lot of people, have
Wow.
in their lives, but I've never done that event.
oh,
I hear
well,
it's really it's one you really have to do, so I'll do that one and maybe the Grand, the year
yeah,
afterwards.
yeah, yeah,
I feel like
absolutely
that's a
go to Italy this
no-brainer.
year. In
Yeah,
2 years, come to Colorado. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's
Well, so
awesome.
what is your like, what up to this point, because you've had a lot of car and driving related experiences, like, what is the best, like, drive you've been on or, like, favorite car related experience of your life so far?
Best drive?
Yeah,
I get to do it all the time. I live in Carmel Highlands, which is if you drive south from Carmel towards Big Sur,
yeah.
it's the area where the cliffs start, and so I live at the very end of the houses there. So when I leave from my house, I make a left on PCH, and there's no houses. It's just because I live at, like, the last part of
Yeah,
civilization, if you will.
right.
So if I make a left on PCH and I floor it, then it's just me and the road and, trees and the landscape and the ocean, and I can go all the way down to Big Sur, or I can keep going and go all the way down to Cambria for hours, and if I go early enough, I don't have to see anyone else on the road. So, that's my number 1 drive. I've driven
Yeah.
all over the world, and that's always gonna be my number 1 drive. My buddies and I, almost every single weekend, we get up really early and we drive down south to Big Sur and we'll have breakfast and we'll be back home by 9 a.m. To kind of start our day. But yeah, that's my number 1 drive.
You are living the
Mm.
dream. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad.
No, I
It
know there's a
doesn't
lot of
suck.
hard work that went behind, getting here, but yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one, but, so that's one that we can go to, when it's not tourist season,
Oh,
if
yeah,
it's
yeah.
winter or something, and we can go for a drive a little bit later and there's not too much traffic on the road. If it's summer, because I don't think the restaurant there opens till, like, maybe 11 or something.
Mm,
So, if you're going for a drive down south in a sports car at, 10:30, 11, there's gonna be a lot of cars on the road, and it's just you don't have the same fun experience.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I've only seen pictures of that place, though, and it looks like one of the most amazing locations of any restaurant, in the world.
Yeah,
It just
there's
looks
a few
incredible.
restaurants like that in
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
Sur that, I think Nepenthe, what is that? What was it built in, like, the 40s or 30s or something? It's a really old building.
Huh, huh.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was like an artist lodge,
Okay,
and,
okay.
they had restaurant there, but it's a wonderful place, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, Vince, I know we're at close to an hour, and we're so fortunate to have the chance to talk with you. I think that Pebble is so fortunate to have you at the helm. You just seem like the perfect guy for this role.
We'll
I mean,
find out.
truly. Yeah. Oh, I have a feeling this is going to be the best one yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah, can't wait. And hopefully we'll cross paths at that's that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
hopefully we'll cross paths. Say that again. Hopefully we'll cross paths with you at some point during this year's event. I know you'll be
Yeah,
so
yeah, if
busy,
you
but
see me,
can't wait.
just slap me on the back of the head and introduce yourself, and I'd
We'll
love to
do.
see you guys. I'm gonna be very busy,
Oh,
but definitely
I
not too
imagine.
busy to talk with you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, it's gonna be wonderful. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
no Jackie X, but,
Ah, I still want a picture with you. You know.
Yeah, right.
It's- well, all roads. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right. That's
yep.
right. Well,
Long silence afterwards. Awkward silence.
no
Okay, I
way,
guess,
no way, no way.
yeah.
Well, all roads lead to Pebble, and this year it's Sunday, August 16th. Again, it is the 75th year, and I think it's going to be really, really wonderful. So, Vince Finaldi, president of the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance, I think you just brought us up a notch. So, thank you. This has been fun. Been a real pleasure. Can't wait
Been a
for
pleasure
this year's
talking to you
event.
guys.
Yeah.
All right, I'll talk
Thanks
to
so
y'all
much.
soon. Go ahead. Yeah, you can find me. I still have the restoration shop. It's Finaldi Inc. And it's Finaldi.inc on Instagram. And my Instagram handle's really difficult. It's Vince Finaldi. So I'm pretty easy to get a hold of.
Yeah. Yeah. In Pebble, of course.
Yep.
y-
And the Pebble Beach. So if you want to find out about the event or you want to find tickets, you go to www.pebblebeachconcourse.net.
Right. Awesome. Awesome. Vince, thank you so much. Appreciate
All
having
right.
you on that car show. And Lindsay,